Welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. We help YouTube creators grow their audience and business with next-level tactics and strategies. Want to accelerate your channel's momentum, be more profitable, and change the lives of more people than ever before? You're in the right place. The Video Creators team has over a decade of experience providing YouTube strategy for brands like Disney, Warner Brothers, HBO, and even YouTube themselves. So far, our team is responsible for helping clients generate over 17 billion views on YouTube. And now, to help you, here's Tim, Lennon, and Delana.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to see you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode where every week we aim to give you next level tactics so that you can grow your views, grow your subscribers in your business so that you can reach more people and change their lives. And today we are talking about how sometimes, there's a lot of us as creators that just feel like it's taking way too much time out of our schedule, or at least just all the strategies that we're trying to learn in order to actually move this channel forward and move our business forward through that is just one thing after the other. We can barely get the time. We can barely get the content out. And it gets very overwhelming. And a lot of that kind of falls in the realm of maybe our struggle with perfectionism, or there's a lot of things that can kind of add to that overwhelm outside of just time management. And so if you are feeling like you can't get out your content fast enough, then I want to talk about some of those things that might be holding you back or might be complicating the process. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I have Tim here with me today, of course.
Hello.
The man himself. Tim, what's your week been like so far?
It's been one of those weeks where you feel like you've got so many big things that you just have to do. Mm-hmm. And then your day is like, oh, but this little thing needs a quick attention, and that thing needs quick attention, and that thing. And it's like this Slack message, that email, this phone call pops up. And then by the end of the day, you're like, I didn't really move the needle on anything I actually needed to do today. Yes. So I know you're like the queen of productivity. If you I don't want to get off topic, I guess, but the struggle is real for me.
Nope. I was sitting here and I was like, you just described my week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Too. So I can't help you on that one, unfortunately. No. I've gotten this much progress on the things that I actually need to be working on.
I know. How does that happen?
I don't know. It's like every day I'm like, okay, I got all this time tomorrow. Like I don't have any calls tomorrow. So like, I'm going to get so much done.
Exactly. That was supposed to be today.
Yeah. And then you get into that day and it's like, oh, but then this thing. And then like you said, this Slack message, this email, my client needs a video reviewed,
I just need to be better, I think, at shutting down all of the potential distractions, putting my phone in airplane mode so no one can call me, no notifications pop up, shutting down Slack, closing ClickUp, and just being like, okay. But in my head, I feel like I'll be able to focus better once all those things are cleared off. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really happen. It kind of does happen, but what ends up happening instead is I just stay up later at night working when the phone's not ringing and there aren't notifications anymore and such. And I get some of my best work done at night instead, but can't keep doing that either. So I'm doing better personally at being like, well, it just didn't get done. There's a red line here that falls below the red line, and that's all there is to it. But in the midst of that, like today, I'm like, oh my gosh, but this has to get done. Anyway, so you get it. It's just one of those weeks.
Something that has helped me a little bit is that I have these two categories in my tasks, and I've had to work on it where it's like I have the things for today that are like absolutely must get done. If these things don't get done, then it is not a successful day. Like I know I'm not going to be able to walk away from my desk feeling good and feeling like I can shut things down. And then I have another group that's like today of things that I would like to get done. So if I get any of those things out of the way, I automatically have the next task that I can move on to. Yeah. But I just always work through like, okay, these are like the 1 to 3, sometimes 4 things that like I absolutely have to get done to feel good about my day. And I just try to work through those, and if anything else comes up, I'm like, does that fall in line with any of these 4 things? Nope. So it's going to get pushed to a different day. So that has helped me a pretty good amount, but there is still some things that like, if, some of my team in the action plan need something from me and they're not able to move forward on what they're trying to do until I give them what they need, then that's the big caveat that always catches you, I think.
Yeah. I think, and we've talked about this, but I just need to get better at having like these days I'm unavailable. And just build that into your schedule, your expectation, not you personally, Delana, but like as the team.
Well, I think I might.
Okay. Maybe we can pick maybe we should all just take the same days. No team communication happens on Mondays and Wednesdays or something. I don't know.
Wow. That would be something to try. I'd be interested in that.
Could everyone go on vacation or do like a quote offsite visit or something?
Right. Yeah. And that way we know if any messages come through on those days, it's like, oh, this is really urgent,
Yeah. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe we'll figure it out.
Maybe. Thanks for your confidence.
For today's Creator Spotlight, we have Mike Carter with Mike's Office. Mike started his YouTube channel several years back, and actually based off of he's a professor at a college, and it was off of one of his students' recommendations that he should start a YouTube channel. And after 5 years on the platform, he was ready to take things to the next level. He did a consultation with one of our strategists, Luke, and then he actually went through Video Labs as well, which is our 8-week online program, and that is where he learned what is like arguably the most powerful thing that you can learn in terms of YouTube strategy, which is storytelling. And through that, as he started to implement the storytelling tactics and things that he was learning through Video Labs, he started to see his YouTube numbers, not just his YouTube numbers actually massively grow, but he also saw a significant increase in the number of student course signups he was getting by 273%. That is major.
273% increase in course signups?
Course signups,
wow.
Yes. Yeah. So that's totally different. Like, I would say it's much easier to get a 273% increase in YouTube views than it is.
I know, but we're talking transactions here?
Yeah, we're talking transactions. That's incredible. So to actually get more people onto your videos and then get that much more to sign up for your course program, it is incredible. And a big part in that was how he was utilizing stories. So here is exactly how he did that.
And just so you guys know, this interview was done by Ingrid, one of the other YouTube strategists on my team who is working with him inside of Video Labs. And so they sat down to talk about how he did it.
YouTube is filled with lots of advice on growth strategy and how to crush it in your business. You start implementing little tactics here and there and start to see the needle move, but YouTube can be a lonely place. You want more than just a self-paced course. You need someone to be honest with you, point out the little things that you can't see. But what you really want is not just strategy, it's support that takes things to the next level. Mike was in this very place a few months ago. He had started his YouTube channel, Mike's Office, several years back on his college student's recommendation. After 5 years on the platform, he was ready to take things to the next level. He did a consultation with Luke, one of the strategists on our team, and left with many actionable items that worked immediately. He knew Video Labs would be just the supportive educational environment he was looking for. Mike dug into the Video Labs community, and over the past 8 weeks, he didn't just see his YouTube numbers grow massively. He saw the number of student course signups go up 273%, and that is money to the bottom line. Welcome, Mike. It has been so much fun having you in Video Labs over the last 8 weeks with both Luke and myself. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started on the YouTube channel.
All right, thanks for having me. I started a few years ago, about 2015. I was teaching at a community college in my area, and I was teaching Excel. And one of my students said, "We really like the way you teach. there's a bunch of people online. I think you can actually teach better than them. So why don't you try it? And I thought, I don't know about that, but I'll give it a shot if my students want me to try it. And that way it was easy to share files and videos with them and things like that. And it was great for them because they could review materials. It wasn't just like a one-off where they had to write notes and get the material in really quickly and then just kind of forget about it. They just could keep coming back to the video. So that really helped a lot of my students. They might not get something on the first time. So video really helped with that. And then, yeah.
I love that. So as an established creator on the platform, I know that you experienced some growth by just tapping into some of the free content that Tim had on the Video Creators channel. But what were some of the struggles that you came up against as a creator?
Yeah, I guess one of my biggest struggles is I didn't really know what my struggles were. I didn't know, I knew I wasn't growing very fast, but I didn't know where I was struggling. And I think you make the mistake of thinking, well, it's the technology. I'll just, I'll get a better microphone. And that didn't seem to really do anything, even when I upped the microphone game and my videos. And I just didn't really know where I struggled with. And then I got the 30 days to a better YouTube channel. I thought, okay, there's like 30 things I could potentially be struggling with here. And then even then, when we talk about target audience, one thing to read about it and think about it, but it's another thing to have someone push you on it, be like, is that really what your target audience is? So that's what I learned in my consultation with Luke. I thought I'd take a consultation before I took the Video Labs course, but he pushed me on that, said, is that really what your audience is all about? What are they really about? And then I had to think about that for the first time. Be like, what's the other person on the camera? Who are they? Like, what is their motivation? What is their biggest challenges? I was amazed at how much I didn't know. I didn't know a lot about my target audience, and I thought I did because I read in the book, you're supposed to outline the target audience. I went, okay, I guess I get that a little bit, but I really didn't know who that person was. So I dug deeper, went into the course, and figured things like that out by being pushed on it. So.
Yeah, I love that. And it is target audience. You're right. It's so important to really have a good understanding of, not just who you're crafting content for, but really how to talk to them directly, how to connect with them. Because as you've discovered, that's powerful, not just for a video, but for your channel as a whole. So I would really love to know, because it's been fun watching you put all the pieces together over the last 8 weeks, because we really dig into a lot of different things. But was there any real big key takeaway that you experienced during class that maybe has had an impact on your channel or even your business?
Yeah, the storytelling was key. I think that's something that I was missing. I was always just kind of jumping into the tutorials that I was teaching without any story to it, without giving people a reason why they should tune into this. Why is this important? I wasn't doing any of that, whether it's just entertaining or it's something they could take away from the tutorial. That wasn't something I was mentioning in my videos. And you could see the drop-off rate was, it was pretty, my audience retention graphs looked like a roller coaster where it was just going straight down because I wasn't giving people that reason why they should follow along. Even if the tutorial, they could learn a few things. And I really learned how to do that in Video Labs. That was something that you guys really pushed us on. And you gave us an opportunity with Volley to kind of experiment with that. Well, that's why I love the title Video Labs, because I actually got to try it out a little bit and had some fun with it. And you guys suggested that. Why don't you give it a try in the Volley Labs? And the Volley Labs, that's a different thing. The Volley's within the Video Labs course. And it's this application where you can do short videos, a lot like, Instagram stories and things like that. And I thought I would try it. My colleagues actually told me, you tell great stories. I really hope you're implementing this on your channel. And I went, not really. So, and then I started to, and it was incredible the results I saw where people were commenting more, they're connecting with me more. They thought this was a great story. I had students saying they were actually excited to come to my YouTube premieres every week. And I even saw a great rise in my revenue, which I don't typically see in January and February. Usually our hot months for online courses is November, sort of around exam time. So November, December, April, May, and then January takes a sharp dive. But this time around, after taking the Video Labs course, I actually saw a little bit of an increase. Not a little bit, I almost doubled my revenue in January and February. And I asked people, why are you taking my courses? Like, what made you want to do this? And they said, that video you said, like, told us about with the story about your swing dancing, why you want to help people, really moved me. It was really an inspirational story. And I like the person behind the story. And I thought, I Googled you and you had all these great Udemy courses. So I thought I'd take it.
I love that because you made a connection with your audience, right? And I remember you did that, and you referred to Volley, which is our online classroom space. It's an app that we use, which gives us the ability to do asynchronous video chat. We're all video creators. We're always on camera. So it was really nice to see you take an exercise and really stretch it to the max, try things out in class, because sometimes when you're telling story for the first time, it's a little clunky. It's uncomfortable, especially like you're used to doing like, more of like the screen grab type of tutorial, or for maybe an art channel, it's more looking at your hands, or a cooking channel, so it's really great to have a safe place with people that are creators just like you. And we limit the classroom size, and that you can actually take these experiments, and you were taking little stories from day-to-day life. We call it story spotting. And stretching that muscle, getting those reps in, which you hear us say stuff like that here on the podcast and on the channel all the time. But it's so true, right? You've got to do that in order to really kind of flex that muscle a bit. And then you had the confidence to put it in your content in a very different way, and look at what the result was.
Yeah, I love that part of Volley where it was just like, you know what? I don't have to put it out there for YouTube to see just yet, but I can test it. I can test some of these things. That's the great part about video labs. You can try things. Maybe it doesn't work. Try it in the labs. Try it with your friends. Like, try it with your colleagues. Everyone's there to support you. And it was a great supportive environment. I even ended up doing a challenge where I wanted to get one of my colleagues in the class some subscribers, and he didn't think people from Toronto were very nice. He actually commented and said, I don't believe people from Toronto are very nice. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to get you some subscribers from Toronto, and I'm going to prove to you they are actually very nice. And I did get shut down by a lot of people from Toronto and had a lot of fun with it, but I followed the story arc that I learned in class. And I wanted to do a 3-part story arc where I said, okay, here's the trial one. Here's what I want. I want people to subscribe to his channel. This is how I'm going to get it. And talking to strangers. And that's something I'm not even like, I don't do that. I don't talk to strangers. So that's not something I used to, but I wanted to make that a good story. And everything I do now in my life, I'm trying to look for a really good story in it. So I did that. I got shut down quite a bit, and people saw it on Volley, and I had some feedback from my colleagues in real time going, Mike, this is hilarious. You got to keep telling this story. This is great. You can't give up. So, and then I eventually got people, a nice group of people from Toronto to subscribe to his channel. And that was sort of like the climax of the story. And there was transformation and me talking to people and realizing there's nice people everywhere you go. You just have to look for them. So it was really cool. And I had a lot of fun learning and trying new things. And I saw a different side of me that you and Luke, I think, saw it come out in me by trying things in the Volley group, and just having that safe spot to get feedback from people was real nice. And from you and Luke as well, who were guiding us along the way. So it was really nice.
Yeah, we like to think of it as having an expert in your pocket for several weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very safe environment. And I love that you stretched that muscle and felt comfortable enough to do that there, to then actually put it in your content on your channel and have immediate results. That's amazing. Yeah. And I know that your retention graphs in storytelling have become very flat. You no longer have that steep hockey stick, which we love also. Very, very common for a lot of Video Lab students. So I'm curious, let's say somebody is trying to grow their channel and business just like you. What's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Try to reach out to people who aren't your family. Try to get people who maybe they're in your niche. Maybe they're like a network, that professional network. That was the secret sauce to Video Labs, I think, was you had some colleagues and you and Luke bouncing ideas. And you know what? You guys weren't afraid to be tough and say, is that really a great idea? That's, that could use some work. I'm going to push you on that kind of thing. I'm going to make you think better about that idea that you have, because I don't know if that would work in the concept of your target audience. And that's just, forcing someone to kind of think about this better and what would make this a better video and all the factors that go into that. You had some people who weren't afraid to push back and give you some honest feedback, because I think a lot of the time we go, like you ask your partner, whoever that may be, or you ask the people closest to you, and they love you. They're gonna unconditionally. They care about you, but they're going to tell you things like, yeah, you're doing a great job, when maybe there's stuff you actually have to work on. So to have a supportive group, but also one that's honest with you, like brutally honest, and says, you know what, does that really work? Is that really going to get people to click? I don't think so. Why don't you try something else? So that was really cool.
I love that. And you're 100% right. You know, my mom is always going to tell me that I did a great job. Right?
Yeah.
But I do, you know, just like every other creator out there, Tim too, every single one of us that are a creator that does content, we need people to help give us, constructive criticism,
Right.
and really push back in the best way, because everything is always said with love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. Well, Mike, it has been. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you get a lot of encouragement from the group too. Not to just say it's all critical. Like I had a lot of people saying, you know what, you really need to do storytelling. You're good at this. You've got this. You got to push that muscle a little bit more, because you're good at this and you can do this. And that was kind of nice too.
Yeah, it is that supportive environment that we all need, because as creators, as you yourself have said, it's a lonely place, and we need a safe place in order to stretch new muscles and try new things, and to have people tell us how it really is. Yeah. Well, Mike, it has been amazing to see you unlock all the pieces in Video Labs over the past few months, actually. You have shown up, you've put in the work, but over the weeks, to see your confidence grow, not just in YouTube strategy, in analytics, to, take in all the information that sometimes you're like, wow, I really wasn't nailing it the way that I thought I was. Now, how do I adapt new things, especially storytelling, which you have a crazy skill in, and then apply that to a how-to channel on top of that on Microsoft Office, not the sexiest topic, and not really knowing what that clear path is for you forward really has been something to watch, and to see the results, see your comments go up 470%, your actual income increase 273%. That's crazy in just a month. You truly are reaching more people and changing their lives, and by helping them to master Microsoft and be irreplaceable. And that is powerful. I can't wait to see how you take this solid foundation and continue to grow. I've linked Mike's channel in the description below. And if you want to feel confident about your content strategy, learn how to unlock and demystify YouTube, plus get all the answers to your questions, our team is right there alongside you to help. You'll learn exactly like Mike did, how to efficiently put your time to make the right impact and get results. But ultimately, it's not just about moving the needle on your channel. It's also about your business too. Hopefully you'll join us in Video Labs. You can find out more about that at videocreators.com/video labs. You can also click the link in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today, Mike.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thanks for having me.
You can just feel the excitement and kind of the freeness that he has whenever he talks about his approach, not just his approach to teaching, but his approach to his channel now, which is just like so energy giving.
It's like a light bulb moment. He's like,
yeah,
ding!
Exactly. And he signed up for Video Labs because at the time he really felt that would be the supportive and educational environment that he needed in order to like kind of take his channel to the next level. And he was right. You can tell by his results. So if you're looking for the same educational and community-oriented environment to take your channel to the next level, then you can go to videocreators.com/video labs and you can check it out. It's open enrollment. You can sign up anytime.
We do have a limited number of people though. So there's people signing up all the time. And so we can only take so many people. So check it out. And if it's full, you'll just see the button grayed out. So if you go check it out and the button is grayed out and says it's full, I'm sorry, check back again later. But yeah, so really amazing group coaching programs, a lot of fun, and you get direct access to Luke and the strategist. It's awesome.
And be sure to check out Mike's channel. His channel name is Mike's Office, and we'll have a link to his channel down in the show notes as well. All right, so getting out content fast and getting out enough content. This is like the bane of every creator's existence, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to learning from you here, because I'm coming at this as the guy who made 4,500 videos over the course of about a decade and on multiple channels and got burned out and was just like, ooh, I can't keep up. And it's been about almost 2 years now since I've been actively publishing content besides just, these podcast episodes. And but I feel it. I feel like, all right, I'm ready to get back into this. So Delina, coach me here. How do I do this ASAP?
Yeah.
Chop, chop.
So, particularly one of the things that I want to address in this is the amount of, I think, perfectionism that goes into kind of the thing that slows down a lot of the content creation process. But there is other things like just not having a good system, like just not having a good system in place that is holding you accountable to doing all of the things that you need to do in order to produce your best content. But then also just keeping you on track can be a hub of, where all the details need to go so that everything can like move forward really quickly and pass through all the hands that it needs to pass through if it's passing through multiple hands. So a system can be a big part, but particularly I kind of want to talk about the angle of perfectionism and how to avoid kind of the analysis paralysis side of, do you feel like you've been in analysis paralysis over the past year, or has it just been burnout?
Not over the past year. It's been like me catching a breath for past year and a half or so. But I think I get the analysis paralysis thing when it comes down to like so many different title and thumbnail ideas. Which one's the best one? But in terms of like the actual content itself, I think I'm more at a spot where like, nah. I'm just going to get something out here. Not that I'm being flippant about it, but more in the sense of like, I could nitpick this to death and spend like 98% more time on this for like 2% more results. And that's the point where I'm like, I'm not interested in that anymore. Yes. I'll do like 20%, get 80% of the results. That's kind of more where I want to focus my time. It's not perfect, not optimized in every way. There's probably some ways to make it better, but the time it would take to fix that, I'm just like, it's going to do its thing. It's good.
I always think about, big time movie producers who literally work on these things for years to produce movies, and they still come out on the other side and they're like, this didn't quite come out the way that we wanted it to, and this and that, and this could have been better, and so I do think that the perfectionism plays a role in that, but my perspective on all of this kind of started to shift from a couple of things, because I have definitely been somebody who has been stuck in analysis paralysis a lot. And I get stuck in that perfectionism and me just not shipping it, if you will, like not just hitting go, like I want to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row and that everything's going to flow really nicely. That we're not going to miss a detail and everything in between. But I think that there's like these two kinds of people, and both of them have to learn from each other. There's a person like me who has to have all my ducks in a row until I feel good about it, in order to feel good about it. And then there's people like you who just want to shoot, I'm
a ready, fire, aim type guy. Yes. Go fast, go ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of more my mantra.
And they have to learn from each other. Like there has to be like that tug of war in order for things to.
Yeah. I need to be held back a lot. You know that. And other people in our business sometimes need to be pushed forward a little bit. Right. So it's like this tension where we're all uncomfortable and it's healthy for all of us.
Yes, exactly. But there was one of these things that as, kind of the perfectionist that I am, one thing that really started to kind of shift my mind about it was I actually had a consultation with a client. I think it was in the first year that I was working with you. And
Is that 2-3 years ago now? 4 years ago?
it would have been 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because I think April is like my official 3 years.
Coming up.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Thanks for the tip. Actually, I have it in my calendar. I just haven't looked at April yet. Trying to get through today.
Yeah. So it would be about 2 years ago if it was within the first year. But he was a real estate agent that had built a whole program on helping real estate agents build their business, and he helps them particularly with like the sales side of stuff. And he wants to bring people in that I asked him, like, who are you trying to target with this kind of information and your courses and stuff like that and your programs? And he was like, this might sound weird and it might even sound a little bit harsh. He's like, but we do not want to attract high learners. And I was like, high learners? Why wouldn't you want somebody who's like hungry for information? You know what I'm saying? That always wants to learn how to do things better and stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't say that because he continued to expand on it, but he was like, and the reason that we don't want to do that is he's like, we've had high learners go through our programs before. We've also hired high learners. And we find that the people that do the best in this are actually the people that are more like you, Tim, who they'll just kind of shoot from the hip.
More like execute over planning. Yes. Yeah. This is like an internal conversation we have as well. I'm more of a like, yeah, I get it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's that kind of like shifted my mind where I was like, I thought that like being a high learner was like always a good thing. But what he was pointing out is he was like, well, you can still be a high learner and be, a little bit more of a, I don't know what you would call it, spontaneous person.
Well, internally, we call them like, we don't want tire kickers is what we call them internally. It's like, we don't want someone who's just kicking the tires of YouTube.
Yeah.
We want someone who's actually going to do the work and is going to see the results, because one of our core values is results driven. So for us, it's not good enough if someone just feels happy or feels good about their transaction because they learned a lot. We're like, but you're not going to reach people and change more lives that way. So it actually needs to like have results behind it. And that's why we pick some of the clients that we do as well for that same reason. So different language to describe the same thing.
Yeah. But it made me kind of analyze myself for a second where I was like, okay, so I see how high learners can kind of be more of like an excuse. Like we kind of get stuck in like, oh, well, if I can just learn as much as possible about this thing, then it will increase my confidence on it. It will make me feel like it will, I think subconsciously we're thinking that like, oh, I can cut the learning curve if I just learn enough about this. Ironically enough, you know what I'm saying? Like if I just learn enough on how to do this, then whenever I go to do it, it will come out perfectly, or at least as close to perfect as possible.
Inside our business on a non-creator type level, just people in our like, and we just had this conversation, I think this week in our team meeting. It's like, there's value in getting all the SOPs, standard operating procedures, put in place, all the checklists, all the processes ironed out, not ironed out, but like figured out and on paper. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what they need to feel like, okay, I got this. I can do this. I feel like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
But then there's other times where you're like, yes, but the amount of time that's going to need to go into figuring that out is really long, and we don't really have that amount of time to do that. And plus, once you start doing it, you're going to have to go back and change the process you thought was going to work anyway. So I'm more like, well, let's just start doing it, figure it out, and create the process as we go. So there's not a right or wrong. There is a healthy tension in between both of those extremes that I think is, like we said, is exactly what we feel and what's healthy, I think.
Yeah. So one of the biggest concerns that I actually get with being an educator, myself on these things, is that I get concerned sometimes that we, with information, there's no way around it. People are going to take it the way that they want. But the more that we educate on things, like the more that people can take that information and like not act on it, like you said, like kind of tire kickers, or just kind of feed the perfectionism addiction of, you know, if I just continue to learn about this thing, that I can do it better. And it's like almost like a squeeze harder mentality. Like we're using our information to like squeeze a better result out of ourselves, rather than we would probably get way more results in a faster time if we just did a whole lot more.
Yeah, I know. So it makes me think of like the batteries on the TV remote going dead. So you press the buttons harder, expecting it to actually work this time.
Start banging it on the table.
I know, but like you're putting more effort in, but not getting more results. Get up off the couch, go get new batteries, you know? So focus on the things that actually move the needle, not just the things that make you feel productive. I heard that someone says it's like a rocking chair, you know, it'll give you something to do, but it won't get you anywhere. So it's kind of like that mentality.
Yeah. In terms of, I know that you have gone through a lot of creating content that's maybe outside of the realm that the style that you're used to creating, like getting more into the heavier storytelling type of content. Did you ever notice an amount of perfectionism or even like overthinking within new styles of content that you were taking on? Did you ever find yourself in that? And if so, how did you?
I did. And I felt more like, so I have like my personal podcast called the Business Family Marriage Podcast with Tim Schmoyer. And so that's some of that type of content and some other stuff too. It's been more of what do I have time and capacity to do? And let's just do whatever I can in that amount of time. And so for me, what that looks like is I don't have a lot of time. We got 7 kids, we got marriage, we got, homeschooling kids, we've got, we got a lot going on, business stuff. And so I was like, the only way I'm going to pull off this personal podcast is if I just literally record and produce the entire thing on my phone when I'm on the go. So that's what I did. I just got a little lightning port microphone, plug it into my phone, and I just it was like minimal effort to get like. I'm not using like this is a $500 microphone I'm using right now, right? The other is like an $80 microphone, and there's a difference between them, but not like a $400 difference between them, right? So it's like a little bit more, 80 extra bucks. I'll just do it on my phone, and most people who are listening to it won't even know the difference. And in fact, there's a little bit more charm to hearing the kids yell in the background. And if I'm recording, not like watching the kids in the pool or something, while they're swimming, you hear the splashing and stuff. So it feels more like we're hanging out than like a presentation like you might get here. So yeah, I definitely think more about like, here's what I can do in this amount of time, and what would it take for me to create and, in your word, ship it in this amount of and get it published. And for me, it just has to be all on my phone.
Yes. And so I want this episode particularly to be pointed towards people who need to hear exactly that, where like basically I'm talking to myself, right? Where it's like what I have learned as like a perfectionist that wants to like get all my ducks in a row before I actually ship it, I hit record and stuff like that. What I have learned is that putting a timeline on myself, this is one of the biggest things that has helped me. If I put a timeline on myself and I have to get this thing like at Monday at 5 p.m., I am hitting record no matter what happened before. You know what I'm saying? Where I basically put a date and a time in which I need to be hitting record for something. And if I didn't get to plan it out perfectly, if I didn't get to create my title and thumbnail beforehand, like the perfectionist in me has to die, because it's a really, really good exercise for those that get stuck in perfectionism and is like, well, I didn't get to plan my video beforehand, so I'm not going to hit record. And so this is a message for the perfectionist, because for those of you that are already really good at just like, hey, we'll move things forward no matter what's happening, then you probably need the opposite message of let's pump the brakes, let's plan these things out. But for the perfectionist, we need to learn how to kind of shoot from the hip more and trust ourselves a whole lot more.
Did you listen? I don't know if you did or not. And if you didn't, it's totally fine. I did a podcast episode interview with Janae Thompson a few episodes back. Her husband was the guy who started the King of Random YouTube channel. I think 12 million
okay.
subscribers now. And I remember 6 or 7 years ago when I first met him, I think he had about 6 million subscribers at that time. And he was stressed out because he was very much a perfectionist, and he was the only one who could shoot, who could edit the way he edited, who could craft the videos to perform the way they were. And on one hand, you could think like, all right, well, he's got a point. It's been working, 6 million subscribers, but he got to a breaking point where he just couldn't do it anymore. He was working 60, 80 hours a week and wasn't having time for his family. And so it was more out of like desperation, like a screw it, throw it to the wind type of thing. He just shot a video on his iPhone and published. It was like a 3-minute video shot on his phone, not too much editing. And it like took him, it was like the whole thing start to end took about an hour, 2 hours, something like that. And that video, I think, was his first like 50 million view video. And he was like, what the, it went huge on Reddit. And really what he did is he just told a really good story really quickly, created a lot of crazy and intrigue and tension, and people like, what, so that intrigue principle way outperforms any of his editing styles and like shooting in 8K Red Epic cameras and stuff like that. So, and then once that happened, he was like, oh, and he felt such a big sigh of relief of like, I don't have to make everything a Hollywood production. Sometimes it feels more real and authentic and works better with the shaky hand cam in it, you know, and the raw, like, kid just screaming in the background, depending on the content. Not every content should be that way, right? But and so he's just gave himself a lot of flexibility to just relax. And his channel didn't miss a beat. And today he's at 12 million subs.
That's amazing. And that's exactly it, is that I think that for perfectionists and high learners, and not that high learners can't come in the form of people that are, primarily action oriented rather than, whatever comes before the action oriented, planning oriented, is that I think that we first need to just accept and fully embrace and accept that we are going to be messy. Like, even everything that as much as we learn, once we get into actually doing it, it's going to be messy, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have videos that tank, and we're going to have, thumbnails that didn't perform the way that we thought they would, even though we put time and strategies into them and stuff like that, that it's going to be messy. And that I think that's one of the biggest fears of perfectionists, is that they feel like if they just do it better, then they're going to guarantee themselves the results.
No.
And sometimes the only way to do it better is to do it. Like,
the results, better results don't come because you have fancy editing or because you do something, with high production value. It comes when you make someone feel something.
Yes.
That's what holds people's attention. I did a video, this was a few years ago now. And it's probably one of my first cracks at like really going all in and trying to tell a story in the content. So I had the whole, storyboard mapped out. I hired a film crew to come film this. I had a shot list. I had the whole thing planned. I had it was edited by the same guy, by Jeff Bartsch, who edits American Ninja Warrior, that TV show. He's edited for Universal and Apple and NBC. The editing and the production value looks and feels like a Netflix film. It is just really high quality. But the story, though, is too confusing. And now that I'm a few years past it, I can see where I went wrong with the storytelling. And it was the same thing. I overcomplicated the story. I should have, kept it simpler. But like, even though the editing was really on point, and the videography and the audio and the sound and all the shots and the cuts, but the story's not good. Like, it kind of doesn't matter, Yep. So a much better story shot on an iPhone with messy audio could have performed. I mean, it got like 20, 30,000 views or something like that. So it wasn't like terrible for my standards, but for the amount of work and energy I put into it, I was expecting more. And I forgot my own principle. It was like story over production.
Yeah, and that's kind of, tying it back to our creator spotlight actually is one of the things that I feel like Mike Carter did so well was that his big focus was story. And he not at one point mentioned anything about production value or editing or anything like that. It was all just story, story, story. And even the stories that he told about him making the stories, were, caused you to lock in. It made you feel something. It made you laugh, and things like that. So I think that it's so easy in the perfectionism to get caught up in, the even just the structure of it, you know what I'm saying? Like the outline and the system of it rather than, or the practical things like the editing and stuff like that, rather than the conceptual things, which is the storytelling that you have to kind of puzzle together. I think the last thing that I would like to point out here is that, I think that every high learner probably knows the principle of like, oh, behind every successful product, there's, a bunch of products that failed before that. But I think that it's more of, we know that, but we know it in our heads, but like we don't actually know it because every time we go to do something, we feel like we have to produce the best thing that we've ever made in our entire lives. And we put all this pressure and even our own like personal value into it sometimes, where it's like, if this doesn't come out the way that I have squeezed so hard for it to come out, then and give me the exact results that I think it's going to give me, then it can feel really, really, I guess like a waste of time. But I think that it's actually much, much better for us to waste that time. Our time would actually be better wasted. And I'm doing air quotes, even though you can't see me. Just getting outside of that squeeze harder and into more of a, I just want to think about how I can connect with my audience on the deepest level. What are the words that I need to say that's going to like connect my experiences to their pain? And kind of, you might even challenge yourself to just keep it simple for a little while. Tim, you just told that story about the king of random, and I think that's perfect. I think that would be an amazing exercise for any of us that just need to like, I keep putting things off, or I keep spending too much time in editing because I'm going to make sure that every little tiny thing is right, and just kind of scale it back for a little bit. And how do I just connect with somebody? And that's it. I'm not going to worry about the editing and stuff like that. How do I just say something meaningful to somebody within the scope of what I'm doing? And by the way, in case you don't end up going and checking out Mike Carter's channel from the Creator Spotlight, his channel is about spreadsheets. So nice. Think that you cannot connect with people.
That's like the example we always use of like the thing that you could never figure out. That and taxes.
It was perfect. Yeah. I think we used that example last time we recorded. And then just this week we got that Creator Spotlight, which was coincidental. So well,
it tells you Video Labs can help you tell stories about anything.
Yeah.
Make it anything meaningful and emotional.
Even spreadsheets.
Now we need a taxes channel to go through it and prove us that even it works even there.
For this week's power tip, I want to let you guys know, in case, I think we may have talked about it once before, I don't remember, but I want to bring it up again because YouTube is optimizing more and more for podcasts. So I think it's been a while since we've talked about this. So talking about the entire idea of perfectionism and challenging yourself to maybe do something more organic to just connect with people, podcasting can actually be a really great format to be a little bit more lax. If this is something that you need to exercise. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast within the scope of what you do, or are interested in more of a lax style, you might consider, since YouTube is in a place of optimizing their platform more for podcasts, you might consider actually trying that style and seeing how it might flow for you better, and hopefully get you more into, actually creating the content and making mistakes and improving, and then making more mistakes and improving from that, rather than trying to keep yourself from making all of the mistakes. So I would consider if that's a style that you've thought about previously, to try it out on YouTube as they start to optimize more for that style of content. And I'll leave a link down to where you can find out more information about how to do that exactly.
Did you hear the rumor that they're paying up to $50,000 to $300,000 to get podcasters to start putting their content on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yep. Yeah,
it's just a rumor, but yeah, 500 or 50,000 for independent creators and up to 300,000 for larger podcasting networks to start publishing their podcasts on YouTube.
Rumor.
It's just a rumor, according to Bloomberg.
Thank you guys for joining us again for another Video Creators Podcast episode. It's always a pleasure spending this time with you, and we'll see you again next week for another episode. Bye.